This is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Anne Nwawodo.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, the President directs immediate release of 42,000 metric tons of assorted grains as part of federal government's food intervention across the country. Rice Millers Association commit to release 60,000 metric tons of rice. We hear your cry. Speaker of the House of Representatives Abbas Tajuddin assures Nigerians at a press conference on the state of the nation, promises commitments by the legislature and the executive to tackle insecurity and food shortage. And police say 14 Abuja-bound passengers kidnapped in Kogi State have regained their freedom, as 2 Catholic priests are also freed in Plateau State after 3 days at the kidnappers' den.
And on Business News tonight, Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited and Central Bank of Nigeria reached an agreement to bank a significant portion of oil revenue with the CBN.
On sports news tonight, reigning FIBA Women's Afro Basket champions the Tigers of Nigeria make a dramatic comeback to beat Senegal in their opening game at the FIBA Women's Olympic qualifying tournament in Belgium.
And from Abuja, House of Representatives steps down a bill seeking to establish an agency to regulate the activities of local and international civil society organizations in the country.
And in international news from London, the EU's climate service says for the first time global warming has exceeded 1.5 Celsius across an entire year.
That has become obvious today is that Nigerians are anxious for quick solutions to the prevailing economic and security challenges in the country, and both issues take center stage tonight. As part of solutions, the President has now directed the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security to immediately release about 42,000 metric tons of maize, millet, and other commodities in strategic move and a reserve to ensure that food becomes more readily available to all Nigerians. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, stated this at the State House after the meeting of the Presidential Committee on Emergency Food Intervention. He says the Rice Millers Association of Nigeria is also committed to releasing about 60,000 metric tons of rice and maize. It's make it available in the market.
The first one is that the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security has been directed to release about 42,000 metric tons of maize, millet and other commodities, gari and other commodities as in their strategic reserve, so that these items will be made available to Nigerians, 42,000 metric tons immediately. The second one is that we have held meetings with the Rice Millers Association of Nigeria, those who are responsible for producing this rice, and we have asked them to open up their stores. They've told us that they can guarantee about 60,000 metric tons of rice. They will make that available to Nigerians to bring it out to the market so that food will be made available. Now, the whole idea of this is to crash the cost of these food items. And these are measures that will happen immediately if it becomes absolutely necessary as an interim measure. On the short run, to also import some of these commodities immediately so that these commodities can be made available to Nigerians immediately within the next couple of weeks. Now, all these are emergency measures. There is, of course, a directive to the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security to invest massively in conjunction with Nigerian farmers and other producers so that we can have better season coming shortly.
In the meantime, the Nigeria Governors Forum has held an emergency meeting to discuss a way out of the current rising insecurity, the rising cost of food, and general economic hardship that has affected many Nigerians. The meeting, which held virtually on Tuesday, deliberated on how the governors of the 36 states need to work with the federal government to address insecurity and the other challenges facing the food sector. In a communique signed by the chairman of the forum, Governor Abdulrahman Abdulrazak of Kwara State, the governor resolved to urgently address food inflation and rising insecurity and the naira depreciation in Nigeria. The governors also agreed to deploy emergency food interventions, including providing incentives for food production, the release of food items from sensitive food banks, and the collaboration with food millers and vendors in the states to boost production. In the meantime, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mr. Abbas Tajuddin, is assuring Nigerians of the lower chamber's commitment to ensuring that the current challenges become a thing of the past in no distant time. Honorable Tajuddin is also calling on Nigerians to keep faith in the 10th Assembly's resolve to ending economic hardships while reeling out the plans of the Assembly geared towards guaranteeing food security. He was addressing a World Press Conference at the National Assembly complex in the nation's capital, Abuja. Our correspondent Dele Omoyeni reports.
The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Abbas Tajuddin, arrives at meeting room 301 of the House of Representatives to address a World Press Conference over critical issues in the polity.
In today's venue,
he reveals that the House is set to take steps over the unfortunate spate of insecurity in the country.
While recognizing and commending the patriotic and courageous efforts of our security agencies, we must have the courage to effect changes where necessary. These are among the issues that the forthcoming Legislative Security Summit will address. This summit, which comes up in a matter of weeks, will, among others, allow us to hear directly from the key stakeholders in the sector and come up with legislative measures to modernize our security system and improve its operational efficiency and effectiveness.
Mr. Abbas also laments the current economic hardship being experienced by Nigerians.
We are aware of the economic challenges facing our constituents across Nigeria. Of particular concern to the House is the high inflation rates, particularly the rate of food inflation. As you are all aware, various factors, including insecurity, economic downtowns, and climate change-induced disruptions, have exacerbated this crisis. I wish to commend the rapid and decisive response of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, to the issue of food security. The 2023 supplementary budget provided a 200 billion naira palliative package, mainly for grains, seeds, agricultural inputs, and equipment for farmers. This momentum has been sustained in the 2024 budget, which has significantly improved the budgetary allocations to all critical sectors of the economy.
After the briefing, the Speaker then takes questions from journalists. He assures Nigerians that the Parliament will leave no stone unturned to change the fortunes of the country.
I'm sure my honorable colleagues and every meaning Nigerian will tell you that there is no better time for the Nigerian Parliament to come out and speak the minds of Nigerians, to respond to their anger, to their agony, to their pains. There is no better time. That's why we're here. We are not here to take care of ourselves. We are here to represent our people. And at this time, at this era, with the kind of hardship Nigerians are facing, it becomes obvious and expedient on us to call for this briefing and to tell the world that we are concerned. We feel their pains, we hear their problems, and we will not relent in coming out to solutions that will ameliorate all their sufferings.
The House of Representatives is also pledging to work with the executive arm of government to ensure that Nigerians get the dividends of democracy sooner than later. Daily Omoyeni, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress have issued a 2-week ultimatum to the federal government to address what they describe as the worsening state of the economy and attendant effect on the citizens. A joint statement issued by the two labour centres and signed by their presidents expressed concern over the non-implementation of the 16-point agreement reached with the federal government on how to cushion the effect of fuel subsidy removal and improve the welfare of workers. The statement describes the non-implementation of those agreements as a blatant disregard for the principles of good faith, welfare, and the rights of Nigerian workers. The unions, therefore, maintain that the federal government has 2 weeks beginning from tomorrow to honour its part of that agreement with the workers. Protests over rising cost of living have been staged in Kano, Niger, and Kogi states in recent times, and citizens have continued to decry the rising cost of food and other basic necessities in the country. We turn our attention to security matters now. The military is vowing to continue to fulfill its mission of hunting and destroying terrorists and their cohorts across the country at the most professional manner. According to the Director, Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, the terrorists are left with only 2 choices, which is to either be killed or surrender. General Buba was giving an update on the activities of the troops at the bi-weekly briefing in Abuja.
In the month of January, troops recorded the following. We neutralized 266 terrorists. We arrested 463 of them, and we rescued 116 kidnapped hostages. We also recovered 447 assorted weapons and over 6,690 assorted ammunition. We denied the oil theft of close to 3 billion naira just in the month of January.
And in Zamfara State, Governor Dauda Lawal has reiterated his commitment to ending the spate of banditry and other criminal activities that have plagued the state. He stated this while inaugurating a 21-member board of trustees at the Zamfara Security Trust Fund. The Security Trust Fund was created to gather funds and aid government's efforts at tackling the ongoing fight against terrorism and other crimes in the country.
Zamfara is one of the epicenters of insecurity in Nigeria's northwest region, as communities have been ransacked by bandits and kidnappers. The Zamfara state government, in its efforts to improve the situation, established community protection guards to complement the efforts of other security agencies.
Thank you very much.
The government has also inaugurated a security trust fund to gather funds and aid the efforts to tackle the menace.
The government and people of Zamfara State have very high expectations on you and your performance. Drawing from your rich and diverse experiences, I have no doubt in my mind that you are all well suited for this crucial assignment. Your role is pivotal in addressing this avoidable menace in our communities and steering the state towards a trajectory of peace, progress, and sustainable development.
A former Inspector General of Police, Mr. Muhammad Abubakar, is the board chairman for the fund, and he wants the people to overcome the challenges.
I'm particularly glad and happy that this case, by the grace of Allah, is turning a new leaf. And inshallah, we shall collectively conquer these challenges of insecurity and underdevelopment under your administration. And going through all the rudiments of calculations, we realized it is not going to be an easy task. And we came in with the idea of the security trust fund. At the same center, in 1 day and 3 hours, we did the magic wonder that gave Lagos State security trust fund that still works today and is the best.
Members of the Board of Trustees include serving and retired military and paramilitary personnel, representatives from the State Ministry of Justice, Internal Security, among others.
In part two, after the break, the state government facilitates the deployment of troops to strengthen security in the state following the recent kidnappings and killings across the state. Please stay with us.
Time waits for no man, or so they said. That's why you set goals and set your minds to achieving them. Because somehow you believe that one day your time will come. So through the highs and the lows, the good days and the not so great ones, you never stop thriving, hustling, and showing up. Because you know, even if tomorrow is not guaranteed, at least you've got control over today. But it's not enough to believe it. You've got to live it too, with the right partner by your side, providing you with all the support you need to forge ahead and reminding you that now it's your time, not tomorrow, today. Today is yours to create greatness, to achieve your dreams, to reach your goals. And with FCMB, today is yours in every way. FCMB, my bank and I.
What does it take to be an original? I'll tell you. It's not just walking the path of others, but understanding, innovating, and carving your own path, knowing who you are, creating your own world, and not being afraid to own it, being true to where you're from and doing things your way. Trophy, extra special stout, no DNA needed, originally black.
With Glovo, you order anything you want, and when you receive it, you celebrate it with your whole body. Because when that tasty grilled chicken is here, the weekend starts. The ingredients for your favorite recipe just in time. And when the cake arrives, the party is on. Because receiving anything on Glovo deserves a dance. Download the app, order anything you want, and track it minute by minute until it arrives. Glovo, order anything, we deliver in minutes.
I'ma keep winning till the world stops spinning. I'ma keep winning till the world stops spinning. I'ma keep winning till the world stops spinning. I'ma keep winning till the keep up with me. Come on, let's I'ma keep winning till the world stops spinning. Independent women, come on, now let's get it. I'ma keep winning till the world stops spinning. Africa, you feel me? Come on, now let's get it.
New styles from Darling. Find your beautiful.
Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. The president directed immediate release of 42,000 metric tons of assorted grains as part of federal government's food intervention across the country. Rice Millers Association commits to release 60,000 metric tons of rice. We hear your cry. Speaker of the House of Representatives Abbas Tajuddin assures Nigerians at a press conference on the state of the nation, promises commitment by the legislature and executive to tackle insecurity and food shortage. And police say 14 Abuja-bound passengers kidnapped in Kogi State have regained their freedom, as 2 Catholic priests are also freed in Plateau State after 3 days in kidnappers' den. The EU's climate service says for the first time, global warming has exceeded 1.5 degrees Celsius across the entire year. Staying Staying with security matters, bandits who kidnapped a bride and over 60 women accompanying her to her matrimonial home in Damari, Sabua, local government area of Katsina State last Thursday have threatened to sell off the victims if a ransom of 100 million naira is not paid. In a video released by the terrorists on social media, the armed bandits threatened to force the already married woman to marry someone else. The leader of the gang, dressed in a police camouflage, stated that there are 63 and not 53 captives with them. The victims, however, called on relevant authorities, including their respective families, to come to their aid. Meanwhile, the 14 Abuja-bound travelers kidnapped last Friday in Kogi State have been freed after almost 1 week, and that's according to the State Police Command. The victims, who were traveling in 2 buses belonging to GIG and ABC Transport, were kidnapped in Inyele Ogugu in Olamaboro local government area of the state. Police spokesperson in the state, Mr. William Ayer, who confirmed this development, however, could not say if any ransom was paid. He also did not provide details of how the victims regained their freedom, but he explains that it was as a result of the combined efforts of the military, the police, hunters, and vigilantes. Well, there is some cheering news now regarding the missionaries also at the parish rectory of St. Vincent de Paul Parish in Pierre Catholic Diocese of Panchkin in Plateau State, who have also regained their freedom from the abductors. According to the chairman, Christian Association of Nigeria Plateau State Chapter, Reverend Father Polycarp Lubo, the priests were released in the early hours of Thursday after spending over 3 days in the kidnappers' hideout. The CAN chairman says he could not ascertain whether ransom was paid to free the priests. Police spokesperson in the State Command, DSP Alfred Alabo, told Channels Television that no suspect linked to the crime is in police custody yet, as those apprehended by the local vigilantes have not been handed over to the police. And following the recent security breach in Ekiti State, the government has now facilitated the deployment of military troops to strengthen security across the state. The commander, 32 Artillery Brigade Akure, Brigadier General John Lar, told reporters in Ado Ekiti that the officers are fully on ground and ready to make Ekiti State uncomfortable for the criminals.
We want to thank the Chief of Army Staff for deploying additional troops to support what we are doing in Ekiti State. These additional troops arrived today, and I want to say that there will not be hiding place for any bandits or criminals, because we will comb the nooks and corners of Ekiti State, and we will know no boundary, because we will cross to adjoining states and pursue them. There will be no hiding place, and there will not be night, and there will not be day, because we will walk, we will do our work and clear the bushes 24 hours. And I want to say that we are starting now. We just came now, and we are starting now.
In the meantime, the special advisor to the governor on Ekiti State on security matters, Ebenezer Ogundano, says the troops have hit the ground running with the arrest of some suspects during a raid on criminal hideouts in the state.
We received some troops from Army Headquarters, led by Brigadier General Allah, and we addressed them this morning too, based on the instruction of His Excellency, the Governor of Ekiti State, President Abayomi Ibanji, and with other executive members of the state. And in the morning, we told them, welcome them to the state, and the brigade commander promised us that we are going to have peace in Ekiti. And after the address, he is moving in his men to the bush to trace the whereabouts of these criminals. And he just came back now with an encounter. He had an encounter with the criminals, and they engaged in fire.
Time of his choosing. Staying with security matters, Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kayode Egbetokun, is asking senior police officers and strategic commanders of the force to re-strategize in order to further ensure a safer and more secure Nigeria. Addressing a meeting of commissioners and senior police officers in Abuja, Mr. Egbetokun says the force is daily recording successes in its fight against insecurity, but there is a need for officers and men of the force to step up their game.
In the last 7 weeks since we had the last conference, the force has attained noteworthy milestones in containing crime rates throughout the country. This achievement is attributable to the strategic blend of proactive policing, intelligence-led operations, and community engagements as advocated by the force leadership. During this period, we recorded 35 cases of terrorism / secessionist attacks, 302 cases of murder, 111 cases of armed robbery, 172 cases of kidnapping, 67 cases of banditry, and 15 cases of unlawful possession of firearms. We must also seize this opportunity to reflect upon our shortcomings and obvious gaps in our performance. That will enable us to set the appropriate context for taking necessary and decisive steps towards doing things differently in order to achieve our statutory mandate and responsibilities as outlined above. Following from our last meeting held on the 18th of December 2024, I am pleased to report that substantial progress has been recorded, driven by the implementation of various strategies to address the rising wave of crimes in the country.
The president of the ECOWAS Commission is asking member states of the Economic Community of West African States to remain united in purpose and objectives as the region seeks to overcome its mounting challenges. Mr. Omar Toure gave this charge at the opening session of the Mediation and Security Council at the ministerial level of the Commission in Abuja. The meeting was chaired by Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Tugar.
The ECOWAS anthem signals the beginning of the ministerial meeting of the ECOWAS Mediation and Security Council. The region has been in the spotlight recently following the decision of Mali, Niger Republic and Burkina Faso to withdraw from the regional bloc and the political situation in Senegal.
Your Excellency.
These developments have caused considerable concern across the region.
These unfolding events in the region are posing challenges that risk threatening stability in our countries. Consequently, an additional memoranda has been prepared on the situation in the Republic of Senegal for Your Excellency's consideration. This extraordinary session of the MSC therefore invites you to critically examine the following memoranda. The memorandum on the intent of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger to withdraw from ECOWAS, with a supplementary memorandum on the wider implication of the withdrawal. The second is the memoranda on elections in member states with special reference, special emphasis on the postponed elections in Senegal.
On behalf of the chairperson, want to restate and call for calm and the total respect and adherence to the rule of law and constitutional order.
Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Tugar, is the chairman of the council, and he underscores the commitment of the sub-region to preserve democratic principles and upholding the rights of all citizens in the region.
I commend the collective efforts of all our member states in upholding the decision by ECOWAS on those member states that have deviated from constitutional governance. ECOWAS' commitment to addressing these challenges underscores our shared dedication to preserving the democratic principles upon which our organization stands.
The ECOWAS leadership hopes that deliberations at this meeting will take actionable recommendations that will bring a strong and more united sub-region. Victoria Longjohn for Channels Television News.
Still ahead on the news at 10, NNPC Limited and the central bank to reach an agreement to bank a significant portion of the nation's oil revenue with the Central Bank of Nigeria. That's in business news. Join us again.
Big tech wasn't really here. What have they seen in the past 10 years, which is making all of them want to put their HQ here?
If you're a business that sees itself growing global, we'll definitely need some sort of like boosts. We need to tap into those existing networks that these big tech companies do provide.
Is there a downside to big investment in Africa? Okay. It's a tricky question.
If we want to be like Amazon, we want to be like Google. Like, this is not, we are not looking to sort of be just another player.
For me, big tech is something highly controversial. I see the value of it, but I also see that Africans should stop playing second fiddle to some of these organizations and have the confidence to start building our own technology.
We've seen how we are using the limited resources we have to solve real problems. They've seen indigenous tech startups achieving things that took them years to figure out.
Welcome back, and we have more on the news at 10. Let's head over to Abuja Studios where Gloria Mezake is standing by to give us more. Hello, Gloria.
Many thanks, Anne. We begin with a bill to establish an agency that will regulate the activities of local and international civil society organizations, which has been stepped down in the House of Representatives. Well, this came after members kicked against the possibility of gagging civil society organizations. Meanwhile, the House is asking the government to put on hold any proposed plan to recall the heads of Chancery from Nigeria's foreign missions abroad. Our National Assembly correspondent, Terry Ikumi, reports.
It is the final plenary of the week in the Green Chamber. The attention of the House is drawn to reports of plans to recall all heads of Chancery from all Nigerian foreign missions.
Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Umar Adjilo does not think this is a good look for the country.
To recall all Nigerians head of Chanceries at this time, Nigeria has no ambassadors. Havens earlier withdrew on all ambassadors on her foreign missions will give credence to the dangerous assertions of a political instability back home that will be hazardous to Nigerian diplomatic relationship with other countries and a huge disservices to Nigerians abroad who may need their services.
The House mandated Committee on Foreign Affairs to liaise with the Minister of Foreign Affairs to resolve all issues in respect of Nigerian foreign missions and report back to the House for further legislative action.
I move that a bill for an act...
Meanwhile, a bill for an act to establish a non-governmental and civil society organizations agency for the promotion of social development activities in Nigeria was debated and stepped down.
The bill to create an agency to oversee the affairs of the NGOs, it performs the following functions: to facilitate and coordinate the work of all national and international NGOs operating in Nigeria, to maintain the register of national and international non-governmental organizations operating in Nigeria with precise sectors, affiliation, and locations of their activities, to advise government on the activities of non-governmental organizations and their roles in development within Nigeria. Clearly, religious issues are at play. Do churches and mosques fall under organizations that are to be regulated? If the answer is yes, what are the powers of the regulating agencies? To what extent will these bodies be regulated? It is only when we have read the details of the bill that we can answer these questions and make very meaningful contributions. I think it makes a lot of sense for members to go through, generate questions, and be sure that the provisions of the bill are consistent with their expectations before we can make any progress.
In the meantime, the House passes a resolution to immortalize the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, late Honorable Gali Umar Naba, by naming the National Assembly Service Commission building after him. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
The president is promising to ensure the provision of decent and affordable housing for Nigerians. President Bola Tinubu made the pledge during the groundbreaking of the renewed Hope City in the Katsina district of the Federal Capital Territory. The project is part of the nationwide housing scheme of the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. Our correspondent, Benny Ark, reports.
This is the official launching of the renewed Hope Cities and Estate program by the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. President Bola Tinubu is joined by 7 ministers and some top government officials. The cities will have 1,000 housing units per site in one location in each of the 6 geopolitical zones in the country and the FCT, while the estates will have 500 housing units per site in the remaining 30 states. The pilot project is located in the Katsina district of the Federal Capital Territory and will consist of 3,112 housing units on a 54 hectares land.
Your Excellency, you have graciously approved the total sum of 126 billion naira from the 2023 supplementary and 2024 budget for these projects, including the slum upgrade and urban renewal. We have also made cross-subsidy a key part of our efforts in enhancing affordability for low and medium income earners to foster integrated living.
This will go a long way in providing shelter, accommodation, and indeed providing employment, creating wealth, and redistributing wealth to the teeming population of Nigeria.
In the first phase, the federal government is using various funding sources, including budgetary allocations, the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, FMBN, and public-private partnership, as the president hopes to bridge the housing deficit in the country.
Putting housing and the oblique corner of our vision is not the right thing. The best thing we are doing now is putting housing on the front burner of our needs.
The first phase is expected to include Lagos, Nasarawa, and Kano states. This pilot project is part of the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development effort to deliver 100,000 housing units nationwide in a bid to addressing the nation's housing deficit and also to provide accessible, durable and affordable homes for low and medium income earners in Nigeria. Benny Ark for Channels Television News.
The World Bank has pledged to increase its financial assistance to the Nigerian government in the face of the ongoing reforms. The Managing Director of Operations of the World Bank, Mrs. Anna Berde, disclosed this after leading a delegation to pay a courtesy visit on President Bola Tinubu at the State House. The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, outlined other areas the World Bank would also be extending its support. The areas include growing the social safety net and improving electricity assets, among others.
But I'm also coming at a time when it's really important and quite encouraging to see all the important reform steps that are being taken in the country. And the partnership between Nigeria and the World Bank is very, very comprehensive and very fruitful. And we're here to make sure that we can continue to be very supportive as these reforms are being implemented and putting the economy on a path towards recovery. We'll be continuing very much to support the reforms through various instruments that we have. And we will be actually stepping up our financial support to Nigeria in light of all the different initiatives that are being taken and all the needs that the economy has.
As we have just heard from the Managing Director of Operations of the World Bank, emphasis was on increasing resources to Nigeria, to West and Central Africa, and also improving electricity access, growing the social safety net, providing greater support for digitization and technological development of our economies, and ultimately to assist in our search for solutions to the issue of development and leading our various countries
out of poverty.
The ministers of finance in West and Central Africa and development partners have been discussing the next round of financing of the World Bank in Abuja. Nigeria's Minister of Finance, Mr. Wale Edun, who is hosting the meeting, highlighted some of the issues the region is facing, including food security, economic growth, electricity supply, and social safety net, among others. Before this meeting went into a closed-door session, Mr. Edun noted that the World Bank plays a key role in addressing these issues.
Ministers of Finance from West and Central Africa are holding this ministerial roundtable with representatives of the World Bank and other development financial institutions to discuss funding for development in the sub-regions. The Nigerian Minister of Finance is leading the West African sub-region into the meeting, and he shares his thoughts on funding options available to each region.
We could do better with our financial muscle as central banks, as countries that have substantial reserves, which have to be kept somewhere and could probably better utilized to enable us to meet our development goals.
In May of 2023, the World Bank approved $460 million credit and grants to improve and harmonize data systems in 8 ECOWAS countries. Similarly, $290 million was approved in September of 2023 by the bank for regional harmonization and improvement of statistics in Central Africa. The bank plans to do more to improve the economy in the sub-regions.
We want to work hand in hand with you towards the very best achievable results for the long-term prosperity of your countries. That is really the World Bank's raison d'être. This is why we seek an even stronger engagement with you going forward to give you the priority, the partnership, and the investments, both finance and knowledge, I should emphasize, that you need.
Specifically, the bank aims to invest in electricity, food security, among others.
But this would be a real turning point to get all these people access to electricity. We also supported about 20 million farmers and pastoralists with urgent agricultural inputs. Under the Digital Economy for Africa initiative, we together committed to double broadband penetration over 5 years from 2016 to 2021. But in fact, we tripled it.
The meeting goes into a closed-door session where the ministers are expected to share thoughts on the development agenda of the World Bank Group.
It is good news for Youth Corps members in the country as Wema Bank PLC, Africa's foremost fully digital bank, has reached an agreement with the National Youth Service Corps to promote youth empowerment through grants and the establishment of digital hubs for their training. The new partnership will have the bank support Youth Corps members with skills and entrepreneurship development initiatives worth 150 million naira yearly for 2 years as grants. Speaking during the signing of an MOU to kickstart the initiative, the Executive Director, Retail and Digital Banking, Mr. Tunde Mabawonku, explains that the target is to help young Nigerians develop skills for job creation.
Wema Bank PLC prides itself as Africa's first fully digital bank, and the financial institution wants to open a new vista of opportunities for the nation's young people through the National Youth Service Corps. Officials of the bank, in the company of representatives of the National Youth Service Corps, put pen to paper in this effort to address the unemployment rate in the country.
They say give a man food, he will eat, but teach a man how to fish, he will forever be grateful. So we've done over the last few years trying to look for opportunities to empower. And we are glad that we have these opportunities to work with the youth and the next generation. They say the youth control almost 60 to 75% of the nation's population. And this for us is an opportunity to empower and impact the lives of these youth.
The partnership will be providing digital skills training in coding, design thinking, artificial intelligence, robotics, cybersecurity, programming language, content creation across all states.
If we can partner with NYSC.
The project is a delight for the management of the NYSC.
This MOU commits us to work together more closely towards our common goal, which is the pursuit of core empowerment for job creation, wealth creation, economic growth, and self-reliance of Nigerian graduate youths.
The digital skill acquired will enable core members navigate, understand, and leverage technology effectively.
Already, World Bank is establishing 7 digital and skill innovation hubs across the country, and this latest effort is expected to do more.
The key message is, number 1, get on board. Number 2, have an open mind. And number 3, use the skills and the knowledge that you learn to impact. First, by impacting yourself and then the larger society. So just a clarion call to everybody that please, please, please get on board this partnership. It's all for the better.
The bank hopes to continue to empower Nigerian youth towards self-reliance and maximize the opportunity provided in the digital space.
That's it from the nation's capital. It's over now to Ladi in Lagos for business news.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks, Gloria. Well, the NNPC Limited and the Central Bank of Nigeria have come to terms to define clear boundaries regarding the management of revenue generated by the oil corporation. Following the meeting today between the CBN and NNPCL, the Apex Bank is to hold a significant portion of the NNPCL's revenue from oil sales. And this is coming after a directive by the President for the NNPCL to transfer revenue from crude oil sales to the Central Bank of Nigeria. Mr. Bele Kyari and Dr. Olayemi Cardoso both shared optimism about the agreement.
I understand very clearly that this review of our decision to move a significant portion of our revenues to the Central Bank of Nigeria is very timely. We made that decision to align with the directives of our board of directors to maintain safe obligor limits with commercial banks.
We have restructured and strengthened our internal processes such that we will be very capable of taking on this enormous responsibility that will be placed in the central bank. And I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that this effective collaboration will work in the best interests of NNPC and Nigeria in general.
And the Kano State Public Complaint and Anti-Corruption Agency has warned against hoarding of essential commodities and vows to arrest, seize items, and prosecute individuals found wanting in the act. The chairman of the commission, Muyi Magaji, disclosed this during a press briefing at his office in Kano State. According to him, the act is contributing to the high cost of food items in the market, thereby creating more hardship for the people in the state. And straight to the market now. It appears right now investors are running to the fixed income market. Well, Willie Bong has the details.
Thanks, Ladi. It appears investors have abandoned equities for the fixed income market. Ever since rates for the Treasury bills crossed monetary policy rates in Wednesday's auction, a lot of portfolio rebalancing are going on right now as investors sold off the big guys like Dangote Sugar, PZ Cussons, Unilever, and Lafarge. But they're just part of the 51 stocks that declined in today's session. Yes, you heard me correctly. 51 stocks lost while 6 stocks gained. Now, in terms of market breadth, that's very negative sentiments filtering into the market. Analysts did predict this correction in the market, and now we have a bloodbath. Let's take a look at the top 3 equities that drove volume in terms of sell-offs. Transcor's second day in a row now, hitting that list with 41 million units sold off today. As investors continue to sell this stock, and some are probably closing positions. Well, it's not great news for the markets, but we can never tell. The market is quite unpredictable. We might see a recovery tomorrow. And that's the stock market report for today. I am Will Ibong.
All right, fingers crossed for the final trading day tomorrow. And that's it from me in Business News. Back to Anne with the rest of News at 10.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial star 894 hash now to experience it. You first. First Bank.
Thank you, Ladi. Outside our shores, at least 13 Sudanese migrants have died and 27 others are still missing in Tunisia after their boat sank off its coast. Only 2 people on board survived while search operations are underway for those missing. Simon Puse has more international news around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The EU's climate service says for the first time global warming has exceeded 1.5 Celsius across an entire year. World leaders promised in 2015 to try to limit the long-term temperature rise to 1.5 Celsius, which is seen as crucial to help avoid the most damaging impacts. This first year-long breach doesn't break that landmark Paris Agreement, but it does bring the world closer to doing so in the long term. Scientists say urgent action to cut carbon emissions can still slow warming. The period from February 2023 to January 2024 reached 1.52 Celsius of warming, according to the EU's Copernicus Climate Change Service. The following graph shows how that compares with previous years. Pakistan has suspended mobile calls and data services as millions of people head to the polls to vote in a new government. An Interior Ministry spokesman said the measures were warranted, citing recent incidents of terror in the country. The election comes almost 2 years since the previous Prime Minister, cricketer turned politician Imran Khan, was ousted in a no-confidence vote. Mr. Khan was jailed on corruption charges last year and is barred from standing. Three-time Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif is now on the ballot in what many analysts say is Pakistan's least credible election yet. Meanwhile, Russia's election commission has rejected anti-war challenger Boris Nadezhkin as a candidate in next month's presidential vote. Mr. Nadezhkin has been relatively critical of Vladimir Putin's full-scale war in Ukraine, when few dissenting voices have been tolerated in Russia. Election authorities claimed more than 15% of the signatures he submitted with his candidate application were flawed. He had tried to challenge this, but the commission rejected his bid. Refusing to give up, Mr. Nadezhkin said on social media that he would challenge the decision in Russia's Supreme Court. The Central Election Commission said that of the 105,000 signatures submitted, more than 9,000 were invalid, and they cited a variety of violations. The US Secretary of State says there is still hope for peace in Gaza. That's despite Israel's rejection of Hamas's offer for a ceasefire and the return of hostages in Gaza. The Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, met the leaders of Qatar and Egypt on Tuesday and Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas in Ramallah on Wednesday. Antony Blinken says he believes there is still space for an agreement.
What I can tell you about these discussions is that while there are some clear non-starters in Hamas's response, we do think it creates space for agreement to be reached.
Ghana's government has suppressed plans to implement a 15% tax on power following a public uproar that it will worsen the cost of living crisis. The value-added tax was to be levied on domestic consumers of electricity, but labour unions opposed the new tax and announced nationwide protests against it next week. Authorities now say the plan has been put on hold until talks are held to resolve the dispute. It comes a few days after the government started to implement a fuel emissions levy, sparking mixed reactions. And fountains of lava are spewing from a fissure in southwest Iceland in the third volcanic eruption since December. Spectacular footage from the Reykjanes Peninsula showed molten rock oozing along a fissure estimated at 3 kilometers in length. Plumes of lava shot more than 50 meters into the air, witnessed by Coast Guard helicopter flying over the peninsula early on Thursday morning. The nearby town of Grindavik was already evacuated during the last eruption on the 14th of January, and on Thursday guests were told to leave the popular Blue Lagoon geothermal spa because of the latest eruption. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel studios in Lagos.
Thanks, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. Reigning FIBA Women's Afro Basket champions Nigeria's D Tigers made a dramatic comeback to defeat Senegal 72-65 in their opening game at the FIBA Women's Olympic qualifying tournament in Antwerp, Belgium earlier this evening. The D Tigers were trailing up to the third quarter of the game, but they ever rallied back to the fourth quarter to record the impressive win. The Nigerian ladies will now face defending Olympic champions, the United States, in their next Group A clash on Friday. Football now. FIFA President Gianni Infantino has renewed his plea for actions to combat the rise in racist events in football during his speech at the 48th UEFA Congress earlier today. Mr. Infantino's speech at today's Congress was concise yet powerful, focusing solely on the pervasive issue of racism in football.
The tools that we have are, of course, a three-step process of the referee who can stop the game, interrupt the game, and ultimately even abandon the game. The disciplinary consequences will have to be a forfeit against the team who has been responsible for the abandonment of the game if a game has been abandoned. We have to start criminal charges against those people who have acted in a racist way. We have to ban them from stadiums worldwide.
And we stay with football as Alexander Seferin says he would not seek a fourth term as UEFA president in 2027 despite the approval of controversial reforms that would enable him to extend his mandate. Seferin's surprise announcement came shortly after UEFA member nations voted overwhelmingly in favor of a series of statute amendments, including a measure that would have allowed Seferin to potentially stay in his role until 2031. And athletes will win medals at the 2024 Summer Olympics and Paris Olympics Paralympics in Paris won't just win gold, silver or bronze. The medals will also include a piece of iron, a wrought iron to be exact, from the Eiffel Tower itself. Organizers of the Games confirmed earlier today that each of the 5,084 medals created for the Paris events will be decorated on one side with a hexagon-shaped piece of iron recovered from the French capital's iconic landmark. It will be great to see the Paris 2024 Olympics. And that's Sports News Tonight. I am Kelly. It's back to Anne.
Thank you, Kelly. And the main news again. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu today directed the immediate release of 42,000 metric tons of assorted grains as part of federal government's food intervention across the country, just as the Rice Millers Association promised to release 60,000 metric tons of rice. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Abbas Tajuddin, has said lawmakers have heard the cry of Nigerians. During a press conference on the state of the nation in Abuja, he reiterated the commitment of the legislature and the executive to tackle insecurity and food shortage. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. Good night.